Hello out there, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Punchboard Parade. My name's Chris Renshaw, and I will be your host, along with a bunch of other contributors from the Punchboard Media Network, some of whom have never done video content before, but we wanted to kind of take the format that you've seen on other channels doing kind of variety and segmented content about board games and other games, and we wanted to try and make it our own. So just a little bit more backstory on what we're hoping to accomplish here. This will be a monthly show because a lot of the other creators have their own content that they need to worry about. But this way we could all come together once a month to create something together and build our community together. So each month we will have a theme that contributors may or may not end up using. It's just to kind of inspire them and get some ideas flowing. This time, our theme was Gen Con Online and kind of our experiences without that. So hear different people talk about that. And speaking of which, let's get to those segments.
Hey everyone, this is Eric Buscemi. I am one of the co-founders of Punchboard Media, and I do written content as the Cardboard Horde. But today I'm actually doing some video content for the first time. So here we go. I mean, I've been on live streams before and on the Cubist as a guest host, but I've never sat down and recorded myself, with the stereotypical boxes of board games behind me. But yet here we are, because Chris Renshaw wanted to do this part, Punchboard Parade, and I couldn't help but support him. So what I'd like to talk about is the weekend of Gen Con Online. We did something called the Punchboard Media Mixer. Now, it would be very easy to be down about all the conventions being canceled this year. It was depressing, and it would be easy to say something very pessimistic and harp on all the negative, but I don't want to do that because we all have to live in these new times, and we all have to just get over it. So here we are, and I'm going to talk about what I think is a very cool aspect of this whole moving to online thing, and that is how global our hobby is and how we can connect online with people that we wouldn't be able to connect with even at big conventions. I didn't go to Origins, Gen Con. I'm pretty sure PAX Unplugged is going to get canceled as well. It should be. But a lot of publishers have gone online. They've put their games on Tabletop Simulator. They put their games on Tabletopia, or they're doing streaming stuff with video and camera setups. And they have not only allowed media people to partake in playtesting and demoing of these games, but they've had, Renegade had a convention, Capstone is doing an online convention. I know many more are coming, and PAX is going online as well. So when I talk about this, it's not just that media folk are going to get the benefit of doing this, but everyone really has the opportunity, and I think that's super important and super great that everyone can follow along at home while we have less to do than we may have in the past. And but one of the things I want to say is this Punchboard Media Mixer. We not only got to see local people, and now I'm in New York, so local people from here, East Coast people. Like, I got to see Gil Hova, who I used to play games with in person, but got to hang out with him online a little bit, and other folks like that. And I would see him at Origins or bigger conventions, but also I got to hang out with people from Canada to Scotland, Poland, Germany, and even Australia. Now, while some of those people I may have seen at these bigger conventions, I know I met Matt Legault of Scorpion Mask at PAX Unplugged, and I've met Connor McGoey from Inside Up Games at a million conventions. I never would have had the chance to meet the designers of Animal World War, which is half Monster Games, because they're in Australia. and getting to meet them, virtually online, and getting to demo Animal World War was great, and it was fun. And the same goes for meeting Michael from Heidelbar. No, I'm sorry, it's Heidelbear. It's spelled Heidelbar, but there's an umlaut. Yeah, I think it's Heidelbear. I mean, their mascot's a bear, so probably Heidelbear Games. And we got to demo games with him. Now, granted, there's some time zone craziness. So it's morning here, it's evening there. I'm drinking my cup of coffee. He's saying right afterwards he's going out, to get a cocktail. But hey, we got to check out Spicy, and we got to check out Decipher. And again, these games are online. They're on Tabletop Simulator. I believe anyone can go and check them out. But again, you'd want to check further with the companies, because they can give you more details. But if I can, I will get this information for the show notes of this Punchboard Parade. But yeah, Scorpion Masqué and excuse me. Like I said, I'm a writer, so this is new to me, this world of live video. So, but we got to test Master Word, which played really well online, which is a big deal. So when that comes out, I'm gonna pick it up just to be able to play with people over Skype and whatnot. Got to check out Adventure Mart from Hub Games with Michael there, who's in Scotland, and also I got to demo City Builder with Connor from Inside Up, like I had said. Also, I believe on Tabletop Simulator. Now, granted, Tabletop Simulator does have a fee. You buy it once, you purchase it, then you own it. I think I got it for about $20. It goes on sale occasionally, but also sometimes you can find stuff on Tabletopia, which is free website based instead of the app based Tabletop Simulator. So that may be something to investigate if you don't want to spend the money to play online and just test it out. And just to throw one out there, I know that Talon Strikes is doing playtesting through Tabletopia, and as well so is Gil with Formal Ferret Games. So if you want to dip your toe in without dropping any money, you could reach out to them. I know they're always looking for playtesters. So also, like I said, Poland, I got to check out Mandala Stones, and that was with Philip from Board and Dice. That's a new abstract game he's designing. He hasn't released a ton of information, so I don't want to say anything about it. He did put the box art out there, so it looks beautiful. It's a really neat design. I wouldn't call it abstract. It's more of like a, how we have the blends of Euro games and Ameritrash games. I would call this a blend of modern and abstract. But yeah, that's just, I just want to talk about some of the positive aspects of everything shifting to online. And that to me is that we get to interact more and get to check out these things from all these companies around the globe. Canada, America, Europe, Australia. And that's just me personally. I'm sure whatever you're interested in, I'm sure there's probably an opportunity. So if this is something you're interested in, I would definitely seriously consider looking online, Twitter, Facebook, connecting with the people from these companies online, and playtesting their games, demoing their games, seeing what's coming out there and supporting them, because this is a tough time for them as well. So thanks for listening or watching. Thanks for watching me for once. I hope I did all right for my first shot at video. Talk to y'all soon.
Welcome to Board Game Week. I'm your host, Todd Springer, and these are the fakest board game stories that we could come up with. Tonight's top story, FFG once again tried to use the power of Cthulhu to convert hundreds of new fans to its popular games. However, this was cut short as their internet feed kept dying. Our investigations have shown that the culprit, a faulty hotspot that kept getting disconnected when Cthulhu's mom would call asking why her son never calls anymore. Cryptozoic Entertainment has announced the next version of their DC deck-building game, Dark Knight's Metal, in which your favorite superheroes team up with Bill and Ted in a time-traveling phone booth to prevent Lex Luthor from stopping the creation of rock and roll. Plaid Hat Games has announced that by partnering with website Team Covenant, they will be bringing back the essence of their popular card game, Ashes: Rise of the Phoenixborn. By subscribing to their website, players can get notified every 3 months when the game is canceled, only to be brought back later. Pandasaurus is taking pre-orders for a new version of the classic game Tammany Hall. However, in this version of the game, players are students waiting to see who can stay awake the longest in their philosophy class. And then lastly, Renegade Games has a new card game on Kickstarter based on the popular role-playing game Vampire: The Masquerade. Although this game appears to be quite exclusive to get into, as the game features nothing but rare cards, shiny holographic rare cards to be exact. Not only that, players must be converted in order to experience the game, although no word from Renegade at this point as to what that entails. And that's all the fake news I have for you today. I'm Todd Springer, and these pages are blank.
Hey there, this is Paul Shapiro from Board Game Squad, and I'm here to talk to you about Metro X, designed by Hisashi Hayashi out of Japan, and is now available in the United States from Gamerite Games. Now, when I visited in Japan, maybe about 2 years ago now, I visited several board game stores, and I looked all over for this game. There's a chain of board game stores called Yellow Submarine in Japan, and they have them all over the place. I believe I went 2 in Tokyo and another one in Kyoto. And I at the time when I went, I couldn't find this game. So I'm very excited that this was finally released in the United States, and it's an excellent game. Let me go through it. With many roll and write and flip and write games, it'll support an infinite number of players, but it is limited to 6 players in the box, and will support a solo mode as well. There are 2 different maps. There is Tube Town and Metro City. Unfortunately, these were renamed from the Japanese version. I believe Metro City is actually Tokyo. I'm not sure what Tube Town is. Maybe it's Osaka or something like that. And if we're comparing it to the Japanese version, the artwork honestly falls flat. I think it was Americanized a bit, meant to appeal to the audience that Gamerite Games caters to, which is family gamers and younger people. Either way, I believe the routes are exactly the same. They are labeled A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. And every time there's a turn, someone takes a deck of these, takes this deck of cards, they flip over the first one, and they're able to write a number in one of these train cars. And based on the number that you put in those train cars, so I say I put a 2 here on this red one, I am then able to cross off 2 over here, 1, 2. And the goal is to complete routes. When you get to the end of the route, the first person will get 2 points for this route, 4 points for this route, 7 points for this route, so on and so forth. Anyone else subsequently gets this point. So 1, 2, 5, fewer points. There's some other ways to score. You can... there's a card that comes in the transfer cards, and you write a point in a juncture that has crossed many lines, and then you double the number of points. One of the things that makes this game challenging is you can't go over previously crossed off spots unless you use one of these skip cards. So, for example, I have some filled out spaces already. We have this red and orange line that's been filled out a bunch. Now I want to go ahead and fill out more pink spots. So say I get that 2 skip card and I want to fill out this one. I can go 1 and then skip 2. So you're sort of like waiting for these skip cards to come up, and they're small values, and there's never enough of them, and you lose points if things aren't filled in. So there's definitely a challenge there. It's a very strategic game, despite being very, very simple. And that's one of the things I like about it. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite roll and write, flip and write games. The only downside, I would say, and this doesn't personally affect me, but my younger brother, for instance, who's colorblind, was complaining that it is not at all colorblind friendly. For instance, these values, yes, they're labeled A, B, C, D, but when you're getting into all these crisscrossing lines, you really need to see the color, and it becomes very, very challenging if you can't see those colors properly. Okay, and then regarding the component quality, everything is on a dry erase board with dry erase markers. There's 6 boards in the box with an equal number of dry erase markers with an eraser on them. I love when roll and writes come in that format. Otherwise, I end up laminating them, and you never end up going through all the sheets anyway. And if you were to go through all the sheets, I think there's very few people that would probably rebuy the game. So I just charge a little bit more, whatever. Adopt the dry erase roll and write format. So thank you, Game Right Games, for pursuing that, making it a dry erase roll and write style game. This game gets 2 thumbs up for me. Definitely worth checking it out, especially if you like roll and write games. It's again very, very good.
All right, my turn. As I said before, my name's Chris Renshaw. I host both the Boards and Swords show, where we talk about board games in a fun and entertaining way, and the Dirtbags of Holding, where we play RPGs in the worst way possible. It's the RPG piece that I'm going to talk about in this segment. So I actually spent most of my Gen Con playing RPGs, as I felt like that was a much closer, narrower gap between playing in person versus playing online. Now, the first game that I played was using the new Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules set from Paizo. This is a game I had been wanting to try in a convention setting to make sure that I understood how to play and that my reading had been, on point. But they had 2 different types of events, the full-on narrative campaign or adventures and campaigns, and then they also had a 2-hour bounty section that I thought was really interesting. It's basically like a single kind of fight, a very quick kind of adventure to kind of get you in and that sort of thing. It was definitely the sort of thing that, had this been a real convention, is something I might try and do a lot more of, because it's so nice and tight that you could kind of fit it into gaps whenever, and you can carry the same character through and gain experience and level up through that way. The second game I played, I don't actually own, but I backed it, and so I was curious about it, especially because of the theme, and that is the new Root RPG that's coming out from Magpie Games. I had picked up this during Free RPG Day, and so I was curious how it plays. If you've ever played games called Powered by the Apocalypse, this is that style of game, which does a really great job for kind of setting up your character and making it unique and giving you ties to all the other characters in your party, something that the rest of these games don't do as well. But in this game, if you've played Root before, it's set in that world, but you're not playing as the individual factions. You're playing as the vagabonds that are kind of roaming around helping out, and you're kind of getting influence with those factions. It was really great. This pace was a tad slow. Like, it felt like it took a while before it kind of got back around to you, but that may have also just been the GM knowing that some people playing this might be their first time playing an RPG. So I'm not going to fault the game or the GM for that. The third game I played, I've had for a while, and I've been really interested to play. This is Dungeon Crawl Classics, and is basically old school D&D. Like, you can see, I don't know if you could pick it up in there, but like, everything about this game just screams like 70s and 80s. The fun and interesting piece about this is that you didn't play as like start out as level 1 characters. You ended up playing 4 level 0 characters, which are basically like, hey, you just walked off the farm or, walked away from your apprenticeship. You don't have a whole lot of skills or abilities yet. But what made it interesting is you get put these characters in what's called a funnel, which is like a dungeon designed to kill characters. So you get that kind of Tomb of Horrors feel where there are scenarios designed to kill characters. But at the same time, when you make a bad move or make a bad roll, yes, you get the character death, but the player is not eliminated from the game. The player can still play because they've got another 3 characters that they can use. So it's really fun seeing like this party of like 20 getting whittled down. So it's a very kind of neat idea. It's something I would love to run on my own. Just even, I don't know how the rest of the game plays at higher levels, but that concept of kind of running a whole bunch of characters through is really neat. And then lastly, but probably least, is I played Call of Cthulhu, another game I'd had for a while, hadn't played. A really neat adventure, another one that just was kind of like a scenario designed to kill. But what made this one off was we had a GM that had been clearly playing Call of Cthulhu for like decades at this point. Someone that was very knowledgeable, knew a lot of stuff about the game, but was also very verbose in talking about it. Like it took us an hour just to get through how to play the game and getting through the exposition and the beginning. And it definitely drew out what probably was not a very long campaign as well. And it seemed like the spots where he could have like helped out with some fluff to kind of get us between scene to scene wasn't as much. But then like whenever we'd want to try and like input some player input, that's where you almost felt like you were talking over them. But I don't know, the game was interesting, and it's definitely not the worst kind of experience I've ever had, but it definitely made me want to try this again myself, running like that same kind of adventure but with like my own group, and see how they fare with that as well. And there you go. Those are the RPGs that I played at Gen Con. Did you play any RPGs at Gen Con? Let me know down in the comments below. And let's get to some more contributors.
Hey Board Gamers, BJ from Board Game Gummo here, back to talk with you a little bit about Gen Con Online. How about some roses and thorns? 3 things I really liked about Gen Con Online, 2 things I think they could work on. So first off, the scheduling. They put out a list of all the things that you could do, the games that you could play, the events that you could see. So I like the fact that up front you knew what things you could schedule and what you wanted to do. Number 2, I like the access to people that were really knowledgeable about games, very similar to an in-person convention. For instance, Alex Goldsmith and I from the Dukes of Dice, we were looking for a game to play on a Saturday afternoon. We saw that the rival networks. We hurried up, bought a ticket, and the next thing I knew, I'm on a Discord server. We're talking with Gil Hova from Formal Ferret. He gives us a personal teach of the games on Tabletopia. Was there for any instructions he had. I thought that was great. It almost felt a little bit like a convention. The third thing I liked about Gen Con Online was some of the events that you could see. Some live things that are happening, some publisher news, maybe some panels. And what I like is seeing when the publishers are showing different new products that are coming out. And they had 3 streams going on at all times. So there was always something to see whenever you checked it out there. And I think that's something that should stay. So the 2 things that were thorns for me for Gen Con Online. One, Gen Con can fix. The other one, not so sure they can. So let's take the first one. The vendor hall. So I forgot what they called it. The blob, but most people called it. Had a big picture of all the different vendors that were part of Gen Con Online. From big pictures for people, I guess, that were around longer and had bigger sponsorships, to tiny little, they were so small, a millimeter big, of some of the companies, actually some of the companies we really wanted to see. But it was pretty much a waste. It's not like you're going to wander around this big screen filled with a bunch of icons. What we love about Gen Con is walking through the halls a little bit at a time. You in real life you can't really see everything all in one day, so you try to get it in pieces, and just looking at whatever games capture your attention or booths that that shock you with how cool they look. Remember the Exploding Kittens live ATM machine, or last year's Blockbuster rebuild of the Blockbuster video store. That was so cool. So missed out on all that. I mean, you clicked on a link, and sometimes it gave you a link to the publisher, sometimes it gave you a link to what they were doing, but it didn't seem very uniform. I think with more time that Gen Con could fix this. They could make this more of an interactive experience. Here's what I would want to see. It would be great to do something VR where you're walking through halls and looking at things. That might be tough, but having an interactive map where when you click on it, it brings you, bam, right to what they're offering this year. These are the games that they're producing. This is video links to it. This is click on a link and you can watch a demo of it right there with people that are staffed to do it during normal Gen Con hours. Here's a link to purchase it, maybe right from the Board Game Geek store. I mean, I want one centralized place to do all this so that when I'm walking around, got my wallet in my pocket, and I'm just, woo, I like this, I want to buy this, or I want to check this one out, or I think I'm going to pass this by. It should be nice and uniform and be really attractive. What's the thing that they probably can't work on? Hey, Gen Con online is online. So I'm not going to get that breakfast time spent with some of my con buddies. I'm not going to get those late nights at our favorite spot playing games all night. You know, sitting around a table, seeing other friends walk up and getting them to jump in with a game of Medium. I mean, you're going to miss out on all those, that person-to-person thing. But I think the Discord server was pretty well implemented. And I think it sort of gave that convention feeling. So I think that's the two things that, one of which Gen Con can work on and one of which they can. Hey, I enjoyed my time at Gen Con Online. Probably my biggest highlight was that Rivals Network game. Punchboard Media had a media mixer afterwards, and we had a bunch of publishers come by, and I had a great time visiting with some of these publishers, getting to know some that I didn't know before, getting some nice demos of some games, and then just some shop talk with other publishers. So overall, not the same as Gen Con of years past, but at least it gave us something to do for that weekend. So until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Thank you for checking out this first episode of Punchboard Parade. As a thank you for watching, we'd like to actually give away a board game before we go. Thanks to Weird Giraffe Games, we are giving away a copy of Big Easy Busking. Big Easy Busking is a hand management area control game where you play your best songs to win over the crowd in this 1 to 5 player area control game where you are a group of street musicians in New Orleans trying to play as many songs as you can with the energy that you have. So thanks to Weird Giraffe Games for giving that away. All you got to do to enter is fill out a comment below this video. You could say what did or didn't you do or wanted to do at Gen Con Online. What Punchboard Media creator would you like to see in an upcoming episode? Or maybe even, is there a topic that you'd like to see us talk about next time? Leave all those comments down in the comments section below. A big thanks to everyone that donated videos to help put this together. And thank you all for watching. And we will see you next month right here on Punchboard Parade.